audio mastering secrets. In this video series, all of my examples will be using software plugins. I do use some hardware and software when I master. A lot of you might too, but it's a lot easier just to show you examples on screen using software. Software has the same settings, knobs, and everything that the hardware has. The only difference is, like I said, it's a little easier for me to show you on the computer screen. Software I'm using is Isotope Ozone 4, a little older version, but they're pretty much all the same, the newer ones. I like the software. It has great sound quality, very cheap, and it's an all-in-one mastering software. It has 6 processors in one. So instead of having to buy, 6 separate plugins, plug them all in, you just get Ozone. You've got 6 processors. Technically, you could master an album with just the Isotope Ozone software itself. Now I'm going to quickly go through the processors used in Isotope Ozone. The first processor in Ozone is a paragraphic equalizer, parametric EQ, I guess they call it paragraphic. I don't use this when I master. I do not use this equalizer. I use Cambridge, which I'll explain at a later time. For equalization, I don't use it, but I will use it to check the stereo field because it has a nice mid-side function. If you look, I have mid-side, stereo, mid-side. And what mid-side is I can listen to the middle part of the stereo field or the outsides of the stereo field. What is this good for? I can gauge how well the stereo of a mix is. Sometimes a client submits a song, it sounds kind of mono-ish. I just flip this on, go to parametric EQ, mid-side, side, listen to the sides. If there's nothing there, it's a mono song. If it's weak, it's semi-mono. And then, I'll explain later how to fix that. So that's your parametric EQ. The next processor is Mastering Reverb. This is Mastering Reverb, so it means it will add reverb to the entire song as a whole, not just vocals. You can't just add reverb to vocals, to a guitar, to a snare. The whole song gets it. This is why I rarely ever use it. I might use it once out of 50 songs or something, unless the client specifically asks. Otherwise I won't. I don't think it even works very well. Even top of the line mastering reverb, I just don't like to use it. If I do use it, I'll go very low on the wet and dry. I'll go wet 15%, just a slight amount. And with my locators, this is the entire song, 20, 50, 100 hertz. This is your bass down here. I do not want to reverb the bass. I'll start it at 1K and move it on. So if you're going to use it, a slight amount of reverb, only on the high end. You don't want to reverb your bass. Also, you don't want to go like this and reverb just like a little part. You can, but it's that radio can effect. It sounds terrible and phony. If you're going to use it at all, move your locators out, reverb the entire top, small amount, 15%. Keep your room size, kind of smaller, and that's Mastering Reverb. Next, we have the Loudness Maximizer. This is the processor where everyone asks, how do I make my song real loud without distorting? Well, you can't just crank your levels up in the mix and go into black and go 5 decibels over 0 and make your song louder. You'll distort. What you do is you use the Loudness Maximizer. You pull down the threshold, and it will compress your song, and it automatically makes the low parts louder. Very simple. Loudness Maximizer is a compressor, but like I said, its main goal is to just make your song as loud as possible without distorting. Very easy to use. You have character, clicking and popping. You would move your character here to make it a little bit more transparent, smooth. Intelligent mode, I leave it on that. This is also, if I didn't mention it, the last process in the mastering chain. You would put this last. This is last, but they have it third here, but it does show up last in the chain for ozone. Get the book Audio Mastering Secrets, a #1 bestseller on Amazon. There's a lot of graphs and charts in the book, not included in the video. Helps you follow along a little bit better and get your masters sounding the very best they can. And that's the Loudness Maximizer. Next is the multi-band harmonic exciter. I call it spectral enhancer throughout the book. Over here they call it multi-band harmonic exciter. It does add harmonics. It's a multi-purpose exciter. I really like it. In your low end, adding some of this exciter makes your bass thicker. Not louder, thicker. It does not really add much volume to the bass. It makes it thicker, which is different than EQ. EQ can't make your bass thicker. It can make louder what is there, depending on the frequency. But an exciter makes your bass thicker. A lot of times you might need that. You may need to make your bass thicker without making it louder, and you can do it with this processor. Very valuable. Your lower mids, when you use this processor, it adds warmth. It warms up the track. It'll make it, it's good for classic rock, something that's harsh, something too bright over here. Sometimes there's like a lot going on. You turn this up here. A lot of times I'll put 1 or 2. You don't want to go too drastic with it, but it'll make a difference. It will soften it up if you need that. Upper mids, definitely, this is where you use it. You move that up, and you're sparkling the song, you're brightening the song, you're making it more clear. You're adding clarity to this area, brightness to the upper mids, where your vocals are, your snare, your guitars, the meat of the guitar, the good part of the guitar. All of that resides right there. You're clearing it up, you're cleaning it up, you're brightening it up with this right here. And then your high end, this is sparkle. You have your little cymbals, hi-hats, your little bright sounds are up here, the upper end of a flute or something, and moving this up a little bit, you just get a little bit more sparkle and brightness on it. This is a multi-band harmonic exciter. It's a great processor. Multi-band dynamics. This is a multi-band compressor. They're calling it multi-band dynamics, but it is a multi-band compressor. I'm not going to get too much into this. There's other sections where this is covered, but I'll show you very briefly. It is a 4-band, and you have your threshold and ratio settings, which I'm messing up here a bit. You can also grab it here. This is actually how I use this processor. When I set my ratio, you can see the wave will bounce up and down when a song is actually playing, and I can adjust it right here. Very simple. Here's my ratio moves and the threshold, but like I said, I'll set the ratio I would like, and I move the threshold here, and we go through the bands and do it all. Multi-band dynamics, multi-band compressor. This final processor is an interesting one. Multi-band stereo imaging. It's basically a fake stereo creator. You can also use it to see the stereo field. It'll move around here. You could see how powerful the stereo field is. I mentioned earlier I use the graphic equalizer for that, but you can also see it here. It'll show you. If it comes out here, it's wide stereo. If it's just like here, it goes up and down, that means it's a mono song. It's done very poorly from a stereo mixing standpoint. But anyway, with this, it's a fake stereo. You can increase the stereo field like this by moving up the knobs, obviously. I don't use this at all. The problem with it is, I'm not going to widen the bass, obviously. I'm not going to widen the lower mids, obviously. We don't want that in stereo. When you widen the upper mids, this section, it splits. It oddly splits up the signal. It's just funny. I mean, I remember when I used this first 5-6 years ago, I used to put a little stereo in there, and the vocals disappeared. They weren't in the middle. They were on the outside, and the snares on the outside. It's just a mess. What I do use this for is on the high end. The high end, I'll throw a little bit of this in here, a little delay. It really does add something to the song. I mean, you can hear, that your little hi-hats, your little high-end things on the outsides. It just adds a little stereo spectrum sparkle. I do this to almost every single song if I can do it, unless the song is super bright, hissy at the top. Of course, obviously, I don't want to stereo accentuate hiss, but if it's just a good song, it's done well enough, I split that top a little bit. I think I usually go 3, and that's it. And you listen. You go back and forth. If you have this processor, listen with it off, listen with it on, and you just get that little stereo twinkle that just really makes a difference in the song. That's the multi-band stereo imaging processor, Ozone. This is the EQ I use, my Mastering EQ. It's a separate plugin, not related to Ozone. It's UAD1 Cambridge, a universal audio product. I like it. It's a little older. You could probably get it for $50 over there if you wanted it. It works good. It has a nice quality to it. I'm not going to explain the EQ. Obviously you could move your equalization around, boost, cut. Just your basic EQ. Cambridge, it's what I use in the mastering process. Every once in a while, I'll get a song in from a client that just has a lot of high-end hiss, crackling pop maybe, and just psst, all the way through the entire song. The guy's singing through the song, playing his guitar, and psst is going on. What I'll do when this happens, here's the track. I don't have a WAV file on the track, but I will go to the processor on the track. I'll open up the track, and I'll use the equalization just for that track. I'm not going to the master out. I'm using the track's equalizer. I will hit
problems. It doesn't give me
a low-pass filter
if I need it.
And I'm going to use this. This will low-pass filter out the hissing sound of that track.
Take 3.
Many times I'll move it here, and then I'll create another one and maybe move that up a little bit because I don't want 5K killed. Maybe I'll go like this and move it over a little bit there, move this up a little. So this area here, I'm eliminating that hiss. Big difference. I mean, it's like night and day when you apply this to a hissy track, we'll call it. That's the equalizer on the track. The final processor I'm going to discuss is the De-Esser. I also put that on the track right here. Not on the master out. I put the De-Esser on the track. This is just a Q-based De-Esser. Very simple to use. You put your reduction in basically, and that's it. Do I use this often? If it has a little S going on, I'll do it. If it's very bad, I have to make the client fix it. Use it if the S is too sharp. Sound. Use it. Try it on the whole track. If it dulls the guitars too much, if it dulls the instrumentation too much, you can't use it. You have to go back and tell the client to fix the S sounds on the vocal track. You have to let your ears be the judge whether it works or not. My point here is, if you're going to DS on the track, not on the master out. Get the book, Audio Mastering Secrets, a #1 bestseller on Amazon. There's a lot of graphs and charts in the book, not included in the video. Helps you follow along a little bit better and get your masters sounding the very best they can. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. This will allow me to create more advanced videos, and I'll have some prize giveaways too.